You know, they say the perfect motorcycle doesn't exist. Well, the Triumph Bonneville T120 would like to argue that statement. Let's sit down and talk about this thing. You know, it's hard to call anything perfect. I mean, even if something is perfect for a specific task, it doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect for another task. But when it comes to calling something a motorcycle, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it some type of a cruiser? Is it some type of a sport bike? Maybe it's an adventure bike. Or is it something that looks kind of like this? Your basic standard motorcycle. But in this case, we're talking about a Triumph T120 Bonneville. And there's nothing standard about the performance that comes with this motorcycle. I mean, when it comes to looks and styling, yeah, it's incredibly difficult to beat. I mean, it is the motorcycle that all other manufacturers are comparing their bikes and trying to emulate when they're talking about their own neo-retro style motorcycles. But it's also the braking performance, the engine performance, the power that this thing makes is something that, well, motorcycles that look like this and come from the era that generated this look could have only dreamed to be able to put to the ground. I mean, couple that with all the rider aids and the driver modes, ABS and the like. Ride-by-wire is even part of the thing that makes this bike so modern. But it's not just that. It's that it is all of that wrapped into one package, and a powerful package at that. And again, I cannot stress this enough. Far more powerful than the looks would lead you to believe that it is. So what makes it the perfect motorcycle? Well, when I think of motorcycle, I think of something that looks, well, basically like this. A standard, upright, street motorcycle that, well, basically can do everything well. But it's not just that this bike does everything well. It does everything well beyond the expectations that I had coming into this. And I liked it so much that I fell in love with it. And I guess I would be forgiven for that. I mean, I had already ridden the Thruxton that is kind of based off of this bike. I've ridden the Speed Twin, also based on the T120 platform. You've got the Scrambler 120 that's loosely based. You can see where this is going. Everything pivots off of that 1200cc parallel twin, making an amount of horsepower and plenty of torques that at any speed that you're going down the road, a simple twist of the wrist will shove you in the direction that you're pointed in. And in a way that is very surprising. In fact, it'll take you off guard with just how punchy it is, again, based on maybe the expectations that you had coming into this. So, if you've noticed a trend here of exceeding expectations, does perfection lie there? Well, maybe not. Maybe exceeding expectations isn't really the determining factor. It's how you feel when you're riding, because that's really what motorcycling is all about. It's the way that it makes you feel when you are pushing it and putting it through its paces. And I am happy to report that the T120 Bonneville is no slouch when you want to get a little bit frisky with it. But more to the point, it is just a very fun motorcycle to ride. Very spirited in its own way. And in a way that made me really second guess my place and my position in where I come from with motorcycles. I had never given a bike that would look anything like this, as iconic as it may be, a chance. I was really more into speed, not so much into the cruiser thing, although the Harleys and the V-twins and all of that are great. And of course, you had the metric cruisers and the Triumph Thunderbirds that kind of fit into that mix too. They're great bikes, but I came from more of a track-oriented background. I was really more into sport bikes and things that would rev to the moon and would try to get you there about as fast as humanly possible. Well, I never was into these types of bikes, but really these types of motorcycles didn't exist back then. I mean, getting back into motorcycling now, maybe after a slight brief hiatus, motorcycles have come a long way. And With the T120, you get all of the styling with an amount of power at just the snap of a wrist that never existed in the past. And had it, I probably would have had a fleet of these motorcycles in my garage. And I probably would have moved a little bit further away from the generic sport bike platform that I was so used to. I mean, track riding is great, but that's all that's great about having a motorcycle that is so track focused. The Bonneville is the quintessential street motorcycle, the do everything motorcycle. You base all of your hot rods, be it dirt or street, off of this platform. This is where it all begins. And again, this is the platform and this is the bike that every other manufacturer, try as they might, can't quite copy. And that's really where I'm coming from with this bike, that no matter what other motorcycles that I've ridden, I'm now going to be a little bit tainted because it's going to immediately be compared to this bike. Yeah, it might be fast, this thing that I'm riding, but does it have that immediate torque response that the Bonneville does? Well, probably not. Well, it's really torquey, but does it have that great upright and seemingly infinite seating position with a seat like this that the Bonneville has? Well, probably not. It's not going to be a Bonneville, and that's going to be its biggest drawback. So I guess you can say that the perfection with the Triumph Bonneville T120 is that after you ride one, everything else that you ride will be compared to it. You just can't get this thing out of your head once it's in there. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Post up your comments. Let me know what you think about this bike. And with that, that's a wrap. Adios.